Hi, welcome to Just Cook with Michael. It's been a while since I put out a video. For the last few years, I have been cooking big batches of bolo de caco at some of the Portuguese festivals. The one I grew up going to in Hayward, California called Bons Jesus. Families from the island of Madeira. I just wanted to throw together a video of just how to cook a large batch. Usually I use 25-pound bags of flour, and usually I make about 3 bags, about 75 pounds total of flour. And it just requires, a little more patience. There's a little more logistics to it, like pre-portioning out my ingredients. Also, because, that's a lot of bread, it takes a lot of time to put that together. I like doing certain things in advance. So in this video, I'll go through that. And I'll leave recipes throughout the video. There's one for a 25-pound bag. There's one for a 5-pound bag, which a lot of us could use. And then there's one for 1,000 grams, which makes about 4 bolo de cacos. I've come up with a standard recipe for this 25-pound bag. I've made a previous bolo de caco video, but I've really settled on this recipe as a standard. I kind of made it so it's easy to portion out for a large batch in case people want to do this at a hall or for other events. And it's using what they call the baker's percentage. The baker's percentage allows recipes to be easily multiplied or divided to suit the needs, and it's all based on the weight of the flour. Instead of using amounts like cups and grams, each ingredient shows the amount of each ingredient as a percentage of the total weight of the flour. For example, in this recipe, the flour is always considered 100% and the water is 54%. The potatoes are 16% of the weight of the flour. The yeast is usually 1.5% and the salt is 2.5%. So if you know those percentages, you could just make up any size bread or any quantity you want. So it's very scalable compared to what you see in most cookbooks. And this is basically the way they all do it in large bakeries or artisanal bakeries that you have in your town. So if you keep it near that ratio, your bolo de caco will always turn out great. And I've made this bread anywhere from 10% up to 25% mashed sweet potato, and it's always turned out really good. Just lately, I've kind of pushed it to 25. I just did it this last year for Christmas. It was delicious. But when you raise the potato level, you do have to drop the water because, again, putting in that much more potato, you're also adding in the water that's in the potato. The first step in this process is to cook the sweet white potatoes. You want to cook them thoroughly. You want to be able to pierce them easily with a fork, and you should be able to smash the potato down with just gentle pressure from a fork. This will take anywhere from 20 to 35 minutes. After that, drain the potatoes. Maybe let them cool off just slightly, but you do want to mash them while they're still warm. It just makes it so much easier. And really try to make sure you mash them fine so you don't get too many lumps. This step of making the potatoes, you can make this 4 days in advance. So when I make the potatoes silvestres, I always make it a few days in advance. I portion it in little glad bags. That way when I get there, just everything's organized. Even though I'm cook this recipe a lot of times, when you get into a new kitchen and you're not sure where everything's at, Murphy's Law, something always goes wrong. I've had circuit breakers being tripped where I had to figure out how to get the mixer going again, or maybe they used to have like measuring spoons, but then I go there and I can't find the measuring spoon. So it's always good to be prepared with your ingredients and the tools you're going to need. So for a 25-pound bag of flour, I use 2 quarts of mashed sweet white potato. Salt is about 2.5% the weight of the flour, and I also pre-portion the salt in bags. And again, pre-portioning is just so nice, especially if you're not used to doing this a lot. In order to be better organized, I usually bring my own tools so I have everything I need. For example, I'll bring the bench scraper, which is a little scraper just to divide the dough. I'll bring a digital scale. I'll bring a digital thermometer. I bring a cooler to put the warm bread. I usually bring butcher paper to line the tables, and also a large measuring tub that can measure 6.5 quarts of water. I also bring an extra 5-pound bag of flour. I always need a little bit of extra flour just to dust the bread after I'm rolling it out or shaping it so it doesn't stick to the plate. I bring a few trash bags, a couple rolls of paper towels. All my flour's in here, equipment. There is my 2.5 gallons of water plus 2 cups, so that's 6 quarts plus 2 cups or 16 ounces. I have my recipe here to follow. I have my yeast weighed out. I have my salt weighed out. And that's it. We'll Dump the water and yeast in there, let it hydrate for about 10 minutes, and then begin mixing. And because I'm doing this a day in advance, you do not have to warm up your water. I don't need to get things really warm. If I was doing this the morning of the event, I would definitely start with warmer water that's about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and it would just get the whole process going. But since we're actually trying to slow down the process, I'll use cool water. I turned on my refrigerators. These weren't on because that's where my dough is going to ferment for a good 16 hours. So that's why I'm using cold ingredients and only using about 25% of the yeast of a normal recipe, so things go nice and slow. Now I'll add in my 4 tablespoons of yeast. If you're making the bread the same day, you use about 20 tablespoons of yeast. This means you need at least a 4-hour fermentation time, and you want the temperature really to be at least 70 degrees. So much of fermentation is dependent on temperature. When I'm making it a day ahead of time, usually it's like a 16-hour fermentation, so that's not a problem. So I use a lot less yeast, and it's in a cold refrigerator, like 40 degrees, and it sits there for 16 hours, and so it's slowly fermenting. Okay, the yeast has been rehydrating for about 10 minutes. Now I'm going to put in the mashed sweet potatoes, 2 quarts that I already pre-portioned, and then the salt and flour. Now I'll be adding the flour and the salt. So I do about a third of the flour at a time. And now I will add in 1 cup of salt. Okay. I added in about half the flour, the potatoes in there, the water. Now I'll put in 1 cup of salt that's already pre-portioned. And now I'm going to put in the last of the 25-pound bag. It's about the capacity of this bowl. There's almost no way of not having some flour pop out of the bowl. So try to shield it a little bit, or sometimes I'll keep the pot lowered and let it mix in a bit before I raise up the pot. That way it's only mixing a little bit of flour and makes it a little more gentle. So a couple things, this arm raises and lowers the bowl. So when you mix in flour, lower the bowl. And even when you start mixing, keep the bowl lowered for just a few rotations before pushing it up. This will be your timer, and this is your switch. Then your speed, you want it on a very low setting. And so this is kind of mixed up now. It's a little tacky, feels a little wet, but the water will get absorbed into the flour a little better. So that feels good. It's sticky to my fingers, but it'll get a little less sticky as it hydrates. In this mixer, probably mix it for 5 to 10 minutes to knead it. So now it's done mixing. Have your buckets ready to put the bread. The most you want to fill it up, the very most is like halfway, because it will expand overnight. And I've come in here in the morning before where it's kind of like overflowing the bucket, so do not put more than 50% capacity. Okay, you want to scrape the dough off the hook. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to do 2 more batches. Okay, this is like a 2-person job. About half full. You can see this is nice. Like it feels tacky, like a little sticky, but it doesn't stick to my fingers at all. It's kind of what you're looking for. You know, when you put your fingers in there, you should feel like a little stick, but it's not so sticky that stuff comes up on your fingers. So I started the dough yesterday, Friday, around 1 p.m. and it's been in the refrigerator probably around 45 degrees. And you can see it's definitely proofed. It feels a little airy, but it's still very cold. It's going to take at least an hour for this dough probably to get up to like 70 degrees. So you want to pull it out as soon as you get in the next day to bring it up to room temperature before you start to roll it out and portion the dough out. So after the bulk proofing, you want to knead the dough a little more. You want to mix the dough up a little bit with your hands. And what you're doing is The yeast isn't mobile. It's kind of like feeding off the starch that's right in its environment. So you want to move the dough around just to kind of like move the yeast, move its food sources. That way you give the yeast more things to feed upon. So this is only a kneading that needs to be done for maybe like, just a few turns, maybe like 3-5 minutes. The dough is very cold, so like I said, it's probably going to take at least an hour to get to room temperature. And to try to get it in a cylinder and not this.
Hey Mike.
What's up?
Just cook with Mike.
Bolo de caco.
Alright.
Vamos comer.
Hey Jasper, hey Lindsay.
Hey.
Okay, you put butcher paper on the table. You roll out, each tub is about a half a bag, so a half a 25-pound bag. Roll it out into a big log with a lot of flour on the paper. And then after you portion it into about 16.5-ounce pieces. If it's below 16, add a little bit. If it's above 17 ounces, take a little bit off. And then we put them on this speed rack to finish proofing for at least about, I would say for sure an hour, up to 3 hours on here. And then you could start cooking them. Portion it out with what they call a bench scraper into the correct portion size. A little bit of flour goes on each plate. First you just portion it out and then we'll kind of shape it into the bolo de caco shape and put on the rack. Okay, so dust that, dust the plate, put some flour all over. When it comes time to cooking the bolo de caco, kind of two methods you could use. A really low heat in a pan for about 6 minutes on each side is usually what I find. And you want the internal temperature to get to about 190 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. This isn't an exact science. If you don't have a thermometer, you could cook it by time. It's better probably to go a little over than under. I bring a cooler with me to keep the bread warm. Make sure you have paper bags when you sell these at the festa. Most people will want to take a few home, and it's handy to have some paper bags. I think they're called number 12s, almost like a 2-gallon bag maybe, and that's helpful.
Dá brilho de frente aqui ao nosso país. Andamos aqui 10 meses ou 11.
Garlic butter, a little bit of parsley, fresh garlic. Sometimes I'll put a little salt in there. And sometimes I'll add, like if I know it's going to be a cool day and I'm worried that the butter's going to be like too stiff and hard to spread, I'll add maybe a couple, like a quarter cup, depending on how much you're using, maybe like 10% the volume of the butter, add extra virgin olive oil. And that way the oil allows that spread to be more pliable onto your bread if it's a cooler day. If not, it doesn't really matter. It's up to you. I hope you found this helpful. Now go cook some bolo de caco and go cook for someone you love.